finished the season about 4, 5 weeks ago. Um, but yeah, they planned in like a presentation thing. So I just went to that with him for a couple of hours. And then he got nominated and got an award for like best new player because he only started with them about 4 months ago, but he made a really big impact. So it's pretty cool. So I've left him up there, and then I come back up.
Awesome. It looks like we are
Yeah.
live now.
Yes, we are live.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am live here with Charlie and John of Age of Distraction.
Good evening or good afternoon for those of you listening in the States.
Absolutely. Good evening, good afternoon.
For some reason I'm breaking up on my end, so I'm just going to wait till it clears up.
Yeah, there is a bit of stutter from your side, Ron.
Well, it says I'm on.
Yeah, it looks like the live stream is live, so
There we go. All right. Well, I'm going to rely on my tablet to let me know what's going on. I'm here with John and Charlie of Age of Distraction. And they have a new album out called Game of Whispers.
Yes, we do.
that's right. It just released on the 31st of May.
Correct.
Been a culmination of a year's worth of work. And there it is.
Yeah, you're Charlie. You are quite the busy person.
You can say that again.
You have so many things going on, and yes, you got your own copy.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I've been a busy boy these last couple of years. So much so that when John started inquiring with me about the music that he was writing, he was sending me a few ideas that he'd had. And I was thinking to myself, absolutely no way do I have time to look at this. Absolutely not. I'm already doing things with Ghost of the Machine. I'm going on tour with Zio in the summer. It's just not doable. And then I listened to it, and it was so annoyingly good, John, that I couldn't refuse, and I just had to be on that song. It was Compromised, the first song that we did. Yeah, and then we never looked back, did we?
We didn't. Absolutely. And it's funny that, the way that you kind of tell it is from my side, it was almost identical. I was knowing that, we'd only recently up to that point kind of started chatting, but I knew, how busy you were and everything that you had coming up. But I had to indulge you in it, and I couldn't not ask the question. It was one of those tracks that and I was a fan of Charlie's voice anyway. But I knew when I wrote it that he would be the ideal fit. I wasn't quite prepared for how good, Charlie was on it, and everything that he brought to that song. But I knew that vocally it would be a really good synergy of that music with his voice. And I thought it was something a little bit different for Charlie, which is why I think I kind of enticed him in. Compromise is a little bit, a little bit heavier, and a slightly different angle to it than what Ghost of the Machine are. So I kind of played on that a little bit by, you know, just giving him enough to almost make it too difficult for him to, you know, to turn it away. And then, you know, once I had him, I had him. That was it. I knew it. And the rest is history, as the saying goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool, and you know, I have to say massive thanks to Charlie for kind of taking that on board and giving it the time and kind of turning it around fairly quick, with everything else that he had on, because you know, I know that he was practicing super hard for going out live with Zio, and that was taking up loads of his time on an evening. And I was kind of, you know, not being overly forceful, but kind of seeing how we're coming along with it. And you know, he said I've got some ideas working, but you know, I managed to just push him enough to get it over the line before he disappeared off on tour. And you know, that gave us enough of a kind of catalyst to say, well, if we can do that, you know, remotely, in a relatively short space of time, then what can we do if we really kind of put us minds to it,
Right.
you know? And the album, you know, I think tells that tale, and you know, kind of gives everyone a flavour as to, you know, what you can do when you put your mind to it.
Exactly.
And
So
when you
let's-
get a killer producer involved as well, because obviously we knew we had something special with the track with just me and John on it. Then you have to get an awesome producer on it, and we did with Dom Benison, who also provides the drums and some keyboards, ear candy, as Dom calls it, on the track on Compromised. And we had Mark
He does.
Gatland join us on bass as well, who's
Yeah.
well known for Hats Off, Gentlemen, It's Adequate, and It. And he is a phenomenal bass player and super enthusiastic about the Age of Distraction band.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's always cool that you could, for different bands, you can come at it differently. Where you're, like you said, John, kind of out of his comfort zone, but not to the point where he's, you know, he'll just say, you know, no, thank you, you know, next, you know, type of a thing. Because I really think musicians and singers, in order to, they're always better in themselves, and if they stay in a small little box, they're never really going to get better. They're just going to just stay kind of stagnant in a way. So for them to do something completely different, that's what, when I listened to the whole album, I was like going, this is very different than what Charlie's other two things that I know him from, you know, Ghost in the Machine and then Shadows on Mercury, you know, completely different. And to me, I like that because I don't want to hear the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. We've already got Ghost of the Machine and Shadows on Mercury. Age of Distraction needs to be something else. And it definitely forced me to improve my voice in new areas. It was hard work. Some of those studio days were pretty grueling, but I think the results I'm really proud of. Yeah, it's a really coherent, strong record, and from a personal point of view, I'm really happy with the performances that these songs, these hard-edged but still melodic songs, got out of me. And of course, Dom, the producer in the studio room where we recorded all those vocals, he was there pushing me to try new things with my voice, finding places that I never knew I could go. While John was there to help me tune my ear onto some of the really weird stuff that you do musically.
Right. Now let's go down the list. Starting off the first one, the uninvited. You know, I thought that was a great intro.
Yeah, thanks. Well, the uninvited was something that I wrote musically, but fairly loosely. Originally, I was going to try and use it as a full band song. So I'd been working on some fairly consistent chord progressions that may kind of reference or be referenced elsewhere within the album. But I wanted them to be, you know, have a little bit of an edge about them. And when I was trying to do them on guitar, whether that be, you know, kind of solo guitar or something like that, because the album is quite heavily guitar orientated, because I wrote, you know, practically all of the music, so that it's the driver. I actually thought, well, hold on, you know, we want to open this album with something different. So the way that we'd already worked with Ruby Jones, she'd already done the pianos and keys on Take Me Down. So I kind of give a framework, and, you know, of I want these chords and I want them in this order and I want this kind of particular feel and theme, but, you know, kind of go mad, and you've got some kind of artistic license there to be able to make it your own. Because I'm not a piano player, so, you know, you got to let the experts do their thing. And, you know, I provided that, and what she sent back actually was 6.5 minutes of, you know, of wonderful music based on what I'd given. But, you know, we wanted it as the intro, so, you know, we did a little bit of chopping here and there, and Don worked his kind of production magic with getting that feel that we wanted. Some symphonic, kind of orchestral bits in there as well to really emphasize where we wanted. And yeah, it's the perfect intro. I'm super happy with what Ruby did. She did an amazing job. As I say, you know, it's 3 times longer on the original version, which, you know, we may release at some point just as a kind of bit of a bonus track. But yeah, did an awesome job on pulling that together, and really giving it the, you know, the kind of the script that I gave, you know, she delivered. And I hope that kind of comes across on when people, you know, listen to the album, and I think it does.
Yeah, I think it really sets the scene. It's that very cinematic production that Don brings to it as well, that we'll touch upon as we go through the rest of the tracks.
And then after that, we go into Break My Bones.
Yeah. Do you want me to, Charlie? I'll just a quick narrative on that. I mean, Break My Bones was immediately apparent when I wrote it and presented it to the guys, even before I think Charlie had kind of come into the studio to be working on the vocals, that it was going to be the opening track. It just had that feel, and, you know, that really impactful, you know, kind of staccato riff at the opening with the big drums, and then it moves into that really flowing melody. Yeah, it was a naturally kind of fitting opening track, and I think it's got the beauty of Break My Bones is it's got wonderful melody in there from Charlie, but I didn't give him an easy task on that one, because there's quite a few discordant chords. It's not, you know, it moves from, you know, one minor key to another minor key, and then there's, you know, quite a lot of dissonance in the chords, and there's chromatics in there and things like that. So it was really, really difficult for Charlie. I know it was, just from when we were in the studio, to kind of deliver a vocal that was kind of worthy of the track. And I mean, look, he smashed it out the park, and with the harmonies and everything like that. Superb job. I know that, I mean, I'll pass it over to you, Charlie, for the vocals, because obviously you wrote them and delivered them. But I know it was originally in your head kind of something that you wanted to have as a two vocalist.
Yeah, that's kind of how I wrote the lyric for it. As you get halfway through the verses, it changes a little bit. I had these sort of sinister voices in dialogue with each other, telling the other person, you know, you're not good enough. You're nothing without me. Starting that thread of toxic relationships that weaves its way through the entire album, and because it's about two people in that same sort of space, that's why I'd imagined two voices on it. But when I demoed it and sent it over to the guys, they were like, well, we don't need two voices. You're kind of portraying the characters vocally by yourself. So I was like, okay. I think that probably did in the end help with the flow of the track particularly as an opener as well. I think we made the right decision there. Not least because it let me single-handedly take on that really awesome melody in the chorus.
And then we go to the one you were mentioned before, Compromised.
Yeah, so won't repeat too much of what we've already said about that track, but again, this was the genesis of the themes that come through the whole album. Those toxic relationships. It's a bit of play on the fact that relationships take compromise. Yeah, to make them work, you need compromise, and it's like a tug of war, push pull, and that's why you've got the imagery of the rope that appears in the verses as well. Because when one person only gives and the other person only takes, then the person doing all the giving is ultimately compromised rather than compromising, and that's what we were going for there.
Right. Yeah. I have to say before we continue, your vocals, Charlie, on this are probably the most of the three that I've heard you on, the most emotional. You really, you pour it out. I mean, it almost, I would say it sounds almost like after you finish recording all this, you probably needed like a month off, to recoup your, everything,
I don't get months off, Ron, but that would be nice. Yeah. I don't know. I found my happy place recording vocals in Dom's studio. He let me have as many takes as required to really find the voices of the characters that are speaking the words in these songs.
Right.
I mean, we're dealing with difficult themes, so you've got to find the emotion in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's desperate stuff.
Right.
I've got nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the song "Protect Me," which is one of my favorites.
Thanks. Yeah, I love this one too. It's got a real sort of pain of salvation feel to it.
That's what I was feeling. It was like hitting me from all sides, and I was trying to figure out who it was, and then just this morning I was like going, yeah. I said, I want to see if he says it.
Yeah. I think John's grinning like a Cheshire cat there, because I dare say that's exactly what you were going for.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one with "Protect Me" in that when I wrote the music, the song that the drums were originally tracked to was a totally different song. And when I got the drums back from Dom, I didn't like the song anymore, strangely enough, but I really liked the drums. So I was sat at home one evening and I put the kids to bed, and I thought, I'm gonna write something to the drums rather than the other way around. And Dom had done an amazing job with those kind of eclectic sounds at the start, and that build up. So I wrote something around that, the kind of clean guitar with the delay and plenty of reverb, and creating an atmosphere. And I already had in my head kind of some of the imagery and words around where I wanted it to go vocally. So I literally put that song together in, I don't know, about 35 minutes. From cradle to grave. I kid you not, it just fell out of me. I recorded the tracks. All of those tracks that you hear on there are all the first take. I'd never wrote the solo at the end, that small melody. One take, improvisation. That was it. It stuck. Everything else that was with it, and I literally did it from it was about 9:30, no, probably a little bit early, about 8:30 one evening. And I sent it to the guys as a really rough mix at 10:30 that evening, and the guys were like, I remember Charlie saying that's your best one yet. And and you kind of referenced Pain of Salvation as well, and that's when we were recording the vocals on that. We give them sufficient time to kind of gestate, didn't we, Charlie? We didn't rush because we'd done the vocals on one of the days, and then kind of we knew that we were almost there, but we knew Charlie could, smash it out the park. But literally, the next vocal day we went in, you did it in about 2 or 3 takes, and then you did all the wonderful kind of octave stuff and all of that, good stuff that really makes a song what it is.
Yeah, it's worth taking a bit of extra time to get that performance right. I think it wasn't the first time we approached it in the studio, it wasn't quite ready yet. Luckily, it was the case that we'd had the afternoon just to sort of play around with it and demo it and push and pull it, and then I could take it away and work on it some more. I think it's the only track that we looked at in the studio with Dom, and then came back to do the final recordings on a later date as well. So
Yes.
yeah, it was worth taking the time over.
Gorgeous vocal, beautifully delivered.
It's nearly 8:30 as well, John. So you'd better be writing another gorgeous track.
I'll send you it about 10:30 this evening, guys.
Excellent. Yeah, and the lyrics are yours as well on this one, aren't they?
Yeah.
Slightly arranged by me.
Correct.
Into the melodies, but they're your words as well.
Yeah.
Well, this is one this is, I think, is one of the peak moments of your vocals, Charlie, because where you really, it's like it's almost like you're grabbing deep down and just pulling all those emotions outward on this song, and like you said, the one Pain of Salvation album that I was thinking in particular that it sounds very in tune with is Remedy Lane.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Things like On the Toe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the next one we got is The Plea.
Yeah, The Plea was basically a track that I'd been working on in kind of piecemeal. So I'd done the original progressions and not done much else with it. And I knew I wanted a kind of musical interlude, but not a full instrumental, because I didn't want to have the album out too much with, I wanted it to be as much as possible vocals. And then, we knew we had the one big instrumental that we'll get onto, but I wanted little snippets of music to break up and allow the listener to kind of breathe. But I wanted to keep that feel. And, this was obviously written in a minor key, and it had that lovely kind of that transition into the end where it moves into 7/8 with that keys melody. And it was just a really nice piece of music. Again, this is very, the majority of what you hear on there is I kind of spent 2 or 3 takes just getting down what I wanted to, and then just delivered it, because I wanted it to, you can kind of over produce these things, and I didn't want to keep going back and going back and going back. There was a particular take that probably timing wise was very, very slightly better, but this one just felt a little bit more natural. And that's everything on everything else that we'd done. That's what we wanted. And then I sent it over to Dom and kind of said, look, the majority, the keys were there, the guitars were there, some of the synth bass, the drums, but I said, put some live drums to it, and then just make it sound like us, which only Dom can do. That's his skill. There's loads of beautiful, wonderful bits of production going on that tie it into everything. And when I listen to it now, it's one of my favorite bits of music. What is it, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and that outro as well of it, and everything about it was like everything else on the album. It just come together so well and very, very easily. And I think it's a beautiful, really nice place on the album as well, because it's that
before
kind of
he gets
light
angry. Yeah,
exactly.
It's very emotional, and you got the big wide reverby drums, and it's just it's beautiful. It's emotional. for me, it feels it like it's right in the right place on the album.
Yeah.
I agree. Next one is Take Me Down.
Our pal Philip Stuckey on lead vocals for this one. Just seen that Stuckfish's fourth album is on its way quite soon, so I'll be looking forward to hearing that. Hey, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good evening, Phil. Just a quick overview on this, and we'd done a couple of gigs this was back when I was in This Winter Machine, and I'd met Phil and loved his voice, and loved his delivery, and totally different than Charlie, but I think a really kind of complementary voice for what we were trying to do. So I touched base with him and just said, look, I've got a track here that originally was just going to be acoustic guitar with Phil singing. Would he be interested? He was. So Phil went away. I kind of give him some direction as to where I wanted it to go lyrically, but Phil's a much better lyricist than I am. So I kind of said, this is what I want the song to be about, but he was free to go and do his own thing there. And basically, when he sent me back the vocals, they'd put a drum beat against it, more from because it's in alternate bars of 6/8 and 8/8, and then straightens out to 4/4, and then back into 6/8. And I suppose with just a click and the guitars, it could be a little bit tricky to kind of keep your time, certainly when you're from a vocals point of view. So they'd put a drum beat against it purely for Phil to have a defined beat to hold his timing against. But when I got it back, I thought, actually, I really like that with the drums. And then it basically just turned into a full band song. From that point, it was like, well, let's go full production. Got Mark's bass on it is absolutely gorgeous. Sent it over to Ruby to do all of the piano and keys work, live drums, Charlie on backing vocals, which was, ace fun to do and really, really set the song off. And then Dom's incredible production. And that as I've kind of heard it referenced to be a haunting love song. And, it's, again, it delivers exactly what it needed to deliver,
right.
but very, very, with very little effort. And I don't mean that in a, from any of the musicians' point of view. I just mean how the song just grew from that guitar and vocals into something almost overnight. And it's one of my faves. I can listen to it on repeat without it ever getting boring.
And then we come up to the title track, A Game of Whispers.
Yeah, I think this was always going to be the title track, wasn't it? It's everything AOD's all about. It right from that gunshot of the opening snare. This is a heavy track. This is an angry track.
Yeah.
And
for sure. Beautifully delivered. I mean, the vocals, for me, it's my favorite vocal on the album. I was there obviously when it was recorded, but it's not just about the vocal capture. I mean, Don always does an incredible job of capturing Charlie's vocals, but this was all Charlie. You could have recorded this in in someone's shed, and it would have still sounded incredible because of what he brought. Couldn't have asked for any more from Charlie on this. Delivered beautifully. The choruses are so, you feel every word, the intensity and kind of in the delivery of the verses. The second verse for me is vocally one of my favorite of any vocalist of any song I've ever heard. And I'm not just saying that because that's my band. It's just how Charlie brought it to life, and some of the vocals, some of the lyrics, I helped to kind of provide, and Charlie just what a job. It's the vocal on that for me almost lifts the music, which it's usually the other way around, but Charlie on that one, it's all Charlie's, that track. It really is.
Yeah, there's no guitar solo either. It's just got a big
Exactly.
dirty odd time breakdown. It's which just adds to the anger and the intensity of it all. I mean, yeah,
It didn't warrant it. We said it, didn't
no, it
we?
didn't need it.
When we listen back, it was like it would have almost been forcing it, and that none of the songs, and not were ever forced. If something had a place to be, it was put there. But as soon as we listened to that one back, it was almost like you'd be detracting from the song by almost kind of trying to steal the limelight from an already, a song that the vocals have made all the way through, and it's vocally very heavy. And those little bits, even in that kind of heavy syncopated kind of middle eight, there's vocals going on there, even though Dom's done his wizardry on the production, and I just didn't want any of that to be missed by me bloody fiddling away over the top. There's a time and a place for everything, and that certainly wasn't it. So
Time and place for it
yeah,
later on the album.
there is indeed, there is indeed.
All right, then we got The Point of No Return.
Yeah,
Big instrumental.
yeah. So as I referenced earlier, the intention always was to have one main full band instrumental, and this ended up being it. This was again a track that come together very, very easy. I wrote the majority of it within the space of about an hour. I had none of these. I usually when I write a song, I've got a couple of ideas that I'm tinkering about with, and then I allow them to grow, and something else will evolve from it. This was purely, a creation at that very point in time, which is almost was for me the point of no return. Once I'd started, it it had to be finished, and yeah, it was just the guys did an amazing, Mark. Um, when I sent him it, and he sent back the incredible bass, but he'd also filled out. He does a lot of the keyboards on it, does Mark? And originally, when I wrote it, the only part that I was a little bit unsure of was where it transitions from the first main theme into the kind of rising section, whatever you want to call it. And when it was just me on guitars and putting some kind of synth bass and stuff, I was just like, I was a bit unsure. For me, it just wasn't kind of ticking all the boxes. But I thought I'm gonna stick with it and see what the guys think. And then as soon as Mark had sent it back within like 2 or 3 days, and he put all these kind of keys underneath it and accent in all the right places, it was like, oh my lord. And it had really brought it all to life. The rest of it, that kind of odd time signature bit in the middle where we're doing it, in nine alternate bars of 11/8 and 9/8 and so on, and all that real fun stuff. And I love playing with ninths. So there's loads of kind of ninths in there and extended chords, and yeah, and again, Don did a wonderful, wonderful job on both drums and the production. There's loads of really, really cool bits in there that unless you're really listening, you could probably miss them. But if they weren't there, you would certainly miss them. So, and that's where his skill is, just ensuring everything's in its right place. And did an amazing job when he pulled that one together. Took us some mixing purely because of, especially in the middle section with the baritone guitars tuned right down to F sharp, gets pretty heavy. But yeah, amazing, amazing. I love it. It never, again, another track that I can listen to, and I know a lot of people have shown a lot of love for it as an instrumental, because I think it's got character, it's got melody, it's heavy, it's melodic, it's got a bit of shredding in it, it's got a little bit of everything, but everything within its right place. And I'm super happy with it. Best instrumental I've wrote ever by far. And I've written quite a few, even just at home in my home studios and stuff. But it's by far and away the best thing that I've ever wrote instrumentally.
And then next up we have Oceans.
Well, need a breather track after all of the intensity, don't we? All the anger. This one was an experience. really kept me on my toes, didn't you, John, with this one?
We did indeed.
Yeah, we had a couple of hours free in the studio after tracking one of the other songs, and John thought he'd throw a little piece of music at us and just see what happened. And this is what we ended up with. It's your lyrics as well, isn't it, John? On Oceans.
It is. It is. Yeah. So exactly like Charlie said. I just kind of, I knew we were tracking Protect Me, and we knew that, Charlie was going to kick that one out of the park fairly swiftly because he's the man. So I left it until I think the kind of evening before, and I said, lads, I'm going to bring something in, and let's just see what we can do. And we recorded the acoustic. Charlie put down, I think, 4 takes, and he'd never heard it. He'd never heard any of it musically. He'd only got, I think I sent the lyrics the night before or that morning. So while I was tracking the acoustic, Charlie was kind of, beavering away in the corner and, coming up with melodies in his head and that type of thing. And then we just kind of said, right, there you go. Recorded 4 takes, and take number 4 was the one that you hear on the album. And incredible, absolutely incredible. So from like 2:30 in the afternoon, by 5:30, we had, the kind of most of the meat on the bones of what is Oceans, and then we left Dom to it. We said, look, we could already see he was getting excited, and he was coming up with his wonderful ideas, wasn't he? He grabbed that big tom, and he's belting it away, and then putting loads of reverb on it. This is while we were still in there, and he was like, his kind of producer mind was going wild.
Never stops.
So we just left him to it. We said, go on, fill your boots.
Go on.
And, just do what you need to do, and all of the orchestration and all that big kind of, cinematic, orchestral piece that you hear around what me and Charlie are doing. He's all Dom.
He turned that around fast, didn't he? He was
Say that
very
again?
excited. He turned that around fast. He was very excited.
He was indeed. Indeed. It was written all over his face. I think like literally we left, didn't we, Charlie? And then he was there beavering away till the early hours. Like, yeah, I've got this and I've got that, and he was very excited for and quite rightly so. It's a wonderful track, and I think with how we brought it together, and there was a lack of opportunity for Charlie to work on his piece, which almost meant that when he delivered it was very pure, because it had no other option but to be, delivered from somewhere, and you feel it, when you listen to the track, and it's again vocally one of my favourites. For that style, I think Charlie did an amazing job.
Yeah, there was method to the madness, because I like to be prepared, John.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I took it in and didn't give him the opportunity to be prepared, because I wanted that kind of that raw emotion where you've got those lyrics. There's your music now. Show us what you're made of, kind of thing. And like I said, 4 takes. Take number 4, absolutely amazing. We knew it at that point. We said that's a wrap, and off we went.
Then we go to The Left Unsaid.
Yeah. Another instrumental interlude, one of the shorter ones. Some weird robotic, almost spectral voices going on in the background. You've got a copy of the CD, haven't you, Ron? I think you said you bought it. Yeah. Yes, there it is. We deliberately obscured the lyrics in the lyric booklet to try and make it a little bit more mysterious. It is a mysterious track, isn't it? What is The Left Unsaid?
Those are fun, actually. because it takes you a while to kind of understand what's going on, but at the same time, it's, like you said, it just makes it a little more mysterious, more sinister.
Yeah, because it was that point in the album where, coming out off the back of Oceans, which, is that kind of heartfelt delivered vocal, and the softer tune. I wanted something, a little bit more sinister, and as much as it's not, there isn't overly much to it. It's a lot of arpeggiated guitar and things, and Dom, did his wizardry. It's with that vocal running throughout with the affected voice. And a lot, although the words are obscured in the book, they're actually a lot of the lyrics from the album. So yeah, it's a cool, really, kind of unsettling piece of music, which is exactly what it needed to do. So yeah, and just kind of talking on the album as a whole, a lot of it, everything's very, very, incidental, but and done on purpose. So the order, the kind of running order of the tracks was something that we took a lot of time to, kind of decide, and we wanted to make sure it flowed, but it told the story and kind of raised you up and dropped you back down and give you a little bit of a reprieve, and then it hit you again. And I think we did a fantastic job of how we lined them up, and the Left Unsaid's a really, really good one because, as I say, you're coming out of one of the more heartfelt ones, and we know what's to come. Therefore, you just want something that's a little bit unsettling, that you're not sure, where it's taking you, and then, we move into track 11.
Yeah, it's a bridge into the apocalypse.
Which is the next one is Sneak Attack.
Yeah, the Prophet does a lot of work on that intro, doesn't it? Setting that almost apocalyptic wasteland of a soundscape.
Yeah.
Hearing the music to that one, I knew that was kind of the climax of the album.
Yeah.
The intro almost doesn't prepare you for the brutal riffs that are to come.
Yeah, for sure. It's a funny one. Is Sneak Attack, because I wrote Sneak Attack quite a while before some of the other tracks. Now, I mean, when I say quite a while, to be fair, I probably wrote the album within the space of about 2 months. But from a kind of time cycle as to how things went, it was one of the last ones, or the last one that we did, Charlie, if I'm not mistaken.
There's finished it in
one
January.
of the earlier ones we did, but one of the earlier ones that I'd actually written, but I wrote it and then I put it on ice for a little bit. I just wanted to make sure it had a place, and I wanted to see how the rest of the album kind of developed before sending it to. I didn't want to waste anybody's time, so I probably had it, and then 4 or 5 weeks had gone by, and we started to build up some of the other tracks, even if they were only built up musically, and we were getting an idea as to what we had and what we needed. And then I kind of booted it up again and had another listen through and thought, hold on a minute, we're onto something. And it's funny how those type of things happen, where it was only probably 4 or 5 weeks time had elapsed from when I wrote it, but I had a totally different kind of feel to what it gave us, purely based on the fact of I knew what else we had on the album. So I sent it down to Mark. Mark absolutely loved it, and a lot of the keys that you hear that are kind of almost double tracking what I'm doing on guitar within the verses and things like that. He did all them, and they're so cool, really quirky, and just give it that edge that maybe it was lacking when I had it originally. And yeah, Mark absolutely kicked it out of the park there, and then Dom built up those choirs in the chorus and huge drums, magnificent production, and it was the one track that I knew I wanted to, kind of to really let loose on the guitar and throw a big guitar solo in there, because I'm not, there's some solos on there, but nothing where I'm kind of really letting it rip. So I actually wrote a guitar solo which these guys really liked,
Yeah.
And we had that right up until probably what, I don't know,
Uh,
March.
yeah, all the online mastering have been done.
Yeah, yeah. It had with online mastering done and complete, and we were ready to. So a lot of the original um, kind of press copies that went out had the original solo one, but I got a new guitar gifted to me by a good friend of mine, and I wanted to put it to use, and I knew in my head what I wanted. So whilst Charlie was in the studio doing another project with Dom, I was at home and I booted the studio up and I thought I'll do it and I'm going to catch them out while they're both there. And I laid down the solo that you hear on the album and I sent the stem across to Dom. And I've got the actual video of Charlie sending me it back when I had that first listen. Um, and yeah, it's really cool. And then Dom just said, "That's it. I'm packing up my guitars."
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest is history really with that one. But um,
Through the kitchen
yeah.
sink at it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
hell of
I
a
did.
track.
I really did. I knew I wanted something. We knew it was the last major track on the album, and I wanted, something to really to leave people where they're like, oh my lord, what have I just kind of heard, kind of thing. And I think we do that. And Charlie's the middle eight section after the second chorus,
Yeah.
in my eyes, was always just instrumental. And then when Charlie had been tracking his vocals, he'd put those vocals you hear on it and we really went to town. 'Cause I love that vocal. It's one of my favorite bits. And then we just went mad with those harmonies, didn't we, Charlie? And
We did,
it was
yeah.
like,
Dom had me
let's
doing
do
all
it.
sorts of ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Same on the verses, he had me doing a falsetto octave double. Like, I hate you, Dom, but I love you at the same time. But I knew I'd had the parts written for Sneak Attack for ages before we actually tracked them. But I never demoed them for John because I knew it was the one. Although I did rewrite the middle eight on the train on the way to the tracking session, so that was a little bit seat of the pants. However,
so kind of a sneak attack.
yeah, it wasn't quite working as well as I wanted it to, and then I rephrased it a little bit and came with a little twist on the melody, and it's quite catchy now. I don't like it.
It's beautiful. It was a sneak attack to me as well because I wasn't expecting any vocals on that. I genuinely just thought that bit leading into the guitar solo was going to be instrumental.
Right.
So when Charlie was singing on it, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting. And yeah, absolutely love it. And the harmonies that we put in, they really just lift it. I think it's an incredible kind of team effort. Is that we spent some time on those. I mean, I'm no vocalist, but I was doing my best to harmonize. I was giving examples on the guitar, and we had the piano out and everything. And yeah, hopefully it's
a lot of layers.
You can hear, you can hear those layers and all that hard work that's gone in.
And then you got the final track, My Piece.
Yeah, gorgeous. You recognize the melody?
A little, but
yeah, it's the whole purpose of that piece of music is kind of, we've gone through this journey, this damaging, kind of journey from cradle to grave, and we needed to find, not necessarily kind of sanctuary, but somewhere that we can at least, kind of find your peace, and that's exactly what it's about. And we knew that we loved the melody on the guitar solo at the end of Protect Me, and obviously it only flashes and then goes, and we did that kind of intentionally on Protect Me. So we thought it'd be nice to kind of tip his hat to that. And, I basically spent an afternoon programming some it was all done via MIDI, to be fair, and then Dom just kind of brought that to life like he does. Took all my parts and made them sound good. So thank you, Dom. But give it that kind of, that Age of Distraction feel as well. So the production of it, it's as much as you kind of feel like you're finding your piece, there's still an element of kind of uncertainty and you're not quite sure if you've ended that journey and yeah, he did a beauty job with it, did Dom, and obviously then just fades out on the melody on the strings. And yeah, I think it's a fitting kind of outro, and it kind of bookends. We have the opening, which is on the kind of piano, and it's warbly and a little bit tremolo kind of effects, and opens it really nice. And this is kind of the opposite end of that, where we're in a major key and we're trying to kind of top it off nicely, but without being too nice.
Right. Well, that's kind of, in many ways, that's mirrored in life. I mean, you come to certain endings, but it's not like a fairy tale,
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad ending. It's just that, it has openings for the next journey.
Yeah. I couldn't put it better myself. That's exactly what it is. We just needed something that kind of brought it to a culmination, but still had an edge to it. And there's resolution, but there's still a little something there. And I think it's a real fitting end and a great place to kind of leave the debut album and prepare people for what's to come for album number 2.
That's perfect, because I'm sure a lot of people. I mean, you just released it, and it's not even really been a month yet.
No, not quite.
So,
Yeah.
really, since I got it in the mail, even before I was listening to it on Spotify, and I knew once I heard the songs that Charlie sent me a couple of them. And I knew when I heard those, I was like, okay, this is going to be a really good album, but I didn't know how good it was. This is one of the, I have to say, so far this year, one of the albums that I've listened to the most.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Not only do I listen to it at home, but I have it in my car, so it's like I got it in different places. And sometimes I'm listening to the same song, but in different locations, or I just listen to it at home, and then now I'm listening to it in the car and vice versa. It's like, and it's like I said, I think I'm glad you pushed Charlie, because I think it brought out the really best in him, and I think that's what musicians should do to their vocalists, is kind of push them, not too far to the point where they just, throw down their mic and say, "I'm gone."
No. But you don't want to get stale,
that.
and you don't want to fall into
Yeah.
patterns. And we've got the ability now with how easy it is to file share and record parts at home,
Exactly.
to create remotely and work with people that you really admire and respect from all across the scene. You can come together from afar. It's really quite exciting.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the amazing thing with technology today. You can do that.
Yeah, you can. You can record professional level music, from the comfort of your own home, as where, a number of years ago that wouldn't have been possible. So,
right.
It's a bit of it's a gift, really, isn't it, to be able to feel so united, even though we're all kind of scattered about the country.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Now, for people in your country, are you guys going to be touring? And the reason why I asked that in your country is because of the visa issue. Because I know if you were to come to the United States, I think you'd probably be bankrupt unless someone was footing the bill.
Yeah, that'd be difficult. That's for sure. I mean, it's difficult to play live even in the UK for Age of Distraction because we are quite geographically disparate. Mark's down in that London, and the rest of us are spread over Yorkshire. And we've only been able to get in the same room a couple of times, to listen to the album and to sign CDs. The actual creation of the album was mostly done in separate rooms for the most part. But there is a strong will within the band to do live shows. So when our respective schedules allow it, I think we'll look into that a little further.
That'd be good because I can kind of picture it to be a very cinematic experience.
I can too.
There's very few times I can feel that when I listen to an album. I can close my eyes and I can see everybody, the players out on the stage, and it kind of helps that I've seen live clips of Ghost in the Machine with Charlie, and the way he, just has that, brings it to the focal point, him, but you see the rest, everybody in the band, but it's like really kind of like the way prog was in the 70s and in the 80s, where it was like that. You very seldom do you have a singer that was a major instrumentalist. It's usually, play a little bit parts here and there, but mostly they're pretty, to be right up there in front.
Yeah.
I think one of the advantages for me, being a performer rather than a musician, really, is that I can make the stage a playground and I can move focus during a live performance to wherever it needs to be. So I can position myself on the stage in such a way to direct the attention to wherever it needs to be at a particular time. So if my bandmate's going to play a killer solo, I make sure that I'm directing the audience that way. If I'm telling a really crucial part of the story and I want to embody the character, then I'm going to twist my body and eyeball the audience and really get that across. It's learning what to do at the right times.
Right.
And I've got the freedom to roam with a wireless mic and no instrument in hand. It's
right.
I've got a theatre background. That's what I was doing before music. I've listened to music all my life, but I've never really done it, to be honest, until my mid-20s. I was a bit of a latecomer to it, and then I got the bug, and I've tried to translate that love of performing into the musical context as well. So it's cool if that's coming across on YouTube clips as well. Cheers.
Yeah, you have a few people in the chat room. We have Nikki Kelly, and she was saying basically you have to be an actor to be a front person in a way. Because like you said, you're commanding the audience's attention.
Yeah,
it's almost like a director in a way too.
It's just another type of performance, but there's something at the heart of whether you're doing a play or you're acting on film or you're performing live music on a stage. It's still a transaction between yourself and an audience.
And then you got someone in the chat named the Prog Corner.
Oh, well, yeah. Whoa! What a hero!
Yes, Scott. Absolutely, what a man.
So cool that you could tune in, Scott. Hey, man. Peace, love, respect, salutations. God save the king.
Yeah, Scott's a
Oh,
cool guy.
So anything else you like to let the people out there know about the album, other than to purchase it?
Yeah, let's say
The
where you
main
can.
one's always, yeah. God, Charlie, you're always better at delivering the "Come Buy My Album" speech than
Yeah,
me.
or I was going to say that if you want to buy a digital copy of the album, you can do so from our Bandcamp page, ageofdistraction.bandcamp.com. You can also stream it on your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube Music. That's a thing. I use Qobuz myself. It's on there. It's on all of them. But if you want the CDs, the main supplier is gravitydream.co.uk, but we know that it's in storefronts all around the world now. So,
Indeed.
And I got mine in the United States at a place called the Bandwagon.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
So it's like you said, it's available pretty much usually wherever you buy your music.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a couple of storefronts in the US that I've seen it. Is it Just for Kicks, Charlie, in
Europe,
over in Europe?
they're based in
Europe.
Germany. So if you're in the EU, then I do recommend Just for
within
Kicks.
the EU.
Just for kicks.de. So if you live in the EU and you order from the UK, you may be hit with surprise customs fees.
Yeah, I think that's the same. I think that's also the same if you order it from the the US from the UK, you might get that same thing. Which it's kind of ridiculous. Well, not kind of. It is ridiculous. But I was very surprised to see that company, the Bandwagon, had it, because I just had gotten an email from them, and I was like, oh, perfect. It was just a perfect timing.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's one of the advantages of working with Robin Armstrong and Gravity Dream. He does have good trade contacts.
He does. He's done a superb effort as Robin on ensuring that the reach is as far and as wide as can be. The trade orders have been significant to say the least. So that's a testament to him, and I think it's amazing then that people can kind of buy it within their own domicile wherever they are, without having to mess about with international postage and so on. So it's really good that it's there for people to purchase. But however you get your music, as long as you're listening to it, that's the main thing. We just want as many ears on it as possible, and if people like it, then that's an added bonus.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Glad to hear it. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Well, John and Charlie, I thank you for joining me. I mean, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your night. And most of all,
thank you for having.
And I thank you for the music. I mean,
there's plenty more to come, Ron. Don't worry about that. There's plenty more to come. That's the last thing that I'll leave with you, is that we're going nowhere. We're not going to be a one album band. Charlie has his other projects as well that he's got his commitments to. But whilst he's beavering away over there, I'll be making sure there's lots of music ready for him to put his signature stamp on later this year. So watch his space. There'll be new music from us before the close of this year for sure. Yeah, we're going nowhere. We've solidified what we do. We work as a band unit, and hopefully we get out there, play live, and we'll bring more studio recordings. So watch this space.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Ron.
It. And I'll talk with you guys soon.
Look forward to the next time.
Thank you very much, Ron. Absolutely.
See you all.
Good night, guys. Good night. Take care.